This video is brought to you by Babbel. Start learning a new language today. Sign up for 3 months to get 3 months for free. Link below. More on them in a bit. When looking at a list of the most watched videos on YouTube, you'll find the vast majority in the hundreds of millions of views club of various music videos. In the top 10, you'll see a variety of household names like Ed Sheeran with 4.6 billion views on his Shape of You music video, Justin Bieber's Sorry with 3.2 billion views, and Katy Perry's Roar with 3 billion views. Embedded in this list, however, is a little song called Baby Shark Dance by Pinkfong with a whopping 4.6 billion views. And this number doesn't even tell the whole story, as that is just one of over 100 versions of the song put out by Pinkfong, including the original that came out in November of 2015, about 7 months before the 4.6 billion view upload that currently has 243 million views. Even the company's Spanish channel's Halloween version of Baby Shark, which more or less just changes the last lyrics to Halloween, do 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 do, rings in at about 72 million views, and they didn't even bother to translate the words sung into Spanish in the video itself, despite porting it to their Spanish channel. Needless to say, on the back of this little hit, with the most viewed version even peaking on the Billboard Hot 100 at number 32 in January of 2019, the company that owns the channel, Smart Study, has managed to spin it into not just success across several YouTube channels that they own, but to a Nickelodeon series and merchandise the world over, from blankets to clothes, diapers, and of course toys. Kellogg's even created a Baby Shark cereal. So, how much money have they made off of it? Well, this is hard to quantify, given, as noted, they've leveraged the song to bolster the company and its parent company as a whole across multiple channels and industries. But to begin with, on ads alone on the main videos, 4.6 billion views, after reaching out to a few children's channel creators and coming up with a ballpark CPM and general monetization fill rate for children's channels, including looking at the numbers before the relatively recent change in children's ads on YouTube, it would seem that they'd probably have earned about $7 to $14 million off of the main video YouTube ads. On top of this, according to Smart Study, its Baby Shark song has, at different times, ranked number 1 on iTunes, Apple Music, Google Play, and Amazon, so generating an undisclosed but likely very significant sum from there. And of course, their Baby Shark content has brought in a number of new subscribers and regular views on the channel. As for numbers there, the furthest back we could find accurate data on their main Pinkfong channel is March of 2017, about a year after the video started to take off. In that month, they got about 80 million views and 71,000 new subscribers. Fast forward to today, after the Baby Shark phenomenon went global, and they get approximately 500 million views and 1 million new subscribers every single month in recent months. And that's just one of their countless popular channels in various languages, with the trending data on the top ones we looked at all pointing squarely at the timing of Baby Shark's rise, kicking all of them into high gear. And as for Smart Study and their potential gross earnings, their revenue in 2015 was about $8.5 million. The next year, when Baby Shark became a big thing, they jumped to just over $15 million. The year after that, they rose to $24 million. The year after that, in 2018, they were up to $34.3 million. We couldn't yet find definitive data on their total 2019 figures, though based on their top channel's data progression, among other things we looked at, we'd be surprised if they aren't pushing into the $45 million plus range for 2019. On top of that, the company's stock, as well as its parent company, Samsung Publishing, have been soaring of late, making the Kim family behind the two companies a combined net worth well in excess of $100 million in their personal stock shares alone. The funny thing about all of this is that they don't actually own the rights to the song that they based their version on. In fact, nobody knows who does, as nobody knows who first wrote it. However, while you'll hear from this from every source we could find, including from representatives from Smart Study, that the original song is in the public domain as it originated in the early 1900s, based on our research, the evidence at hand does not seem to support that hypothesis at all. It actually appears that somebody may still hold the copyright, if they can prove they wrote it, or at least that have a good enough legal argument to pursue the matter. So, that brings us to the question of where did the song actually come from? on. Often mentioned along with this early 1900s narrative as supporting evidence that versions of the song have been around forever include pointing to the French Bébé Requin, a 1967 song which translated means baby shark. The problem with this is that other than the title and that it features a portion where a figurative baby shark is going after someone, this song bears little resemblance to the baby shark earworm that we know today and its direct predecessors. Translated to English, the pertinent part states, "I am a baby shark with a white tummy and pearly white teeth. I'll pull you down into the warm waters, and without your knowing, with love, with sweetness, I, pretty baby shark, want to devour your heart. Baby shark, velvet baby, baby shark, baby of love. To keep you, I will fight with my sisters. I want to be the only one to eat your heart." Needless to say, it's a bit of a stretch to call this song an ancestor to the Baby Shark song that we have today. Moving on from there, the German Kleiner Hai, Little Shark, is commonly pointed to as yet more evidence the song has been around forever. In fact, a version of this song, performed by Alexandra Müller, aka Alamule, actually went viral in Germany, resulting in the first, albeit brief and isolated, Baby Shark craze all the way back in 2007 and 2008. Now, we're going to grant that our research for you when it comes to German is a bit lacking compared to our abilities in English, but for what it's worth, we could find no documented version of this German version that predates the first known English version, which we'll get to shortly. And even anecdotal accounts from Germans only seem to go back to around the 1990s or so on this song. That's not to say it's not possible people were singing the German version before this, just the document trail doesn't seem to be there. Though if any native German speakers care to correct us if you know of something sooner, well, we're all ears. Also, seriously, everyone go watch the Alamule version. It's interesting and a virtual time capsule of a video on what the early days of YouTube were like. So this brings us back around to English and what appears to be the actual origin of the song. It turns out it would seem to be the 1975 film Jaws. This is very important to Smart Study in particular, as in the United States at least, after January the 1st, 1978, to quote copyright.gov, copyright protection lasts for the life of the author plus an additional 70 years. For anonymous work, a pseudo-anonymous work, or a work made for hire, the copyright endures for a term of 95 years from the year of its first publication, or a term of 120 years from the year of its creation, whichever expires first. For works prior to 1978, there are many factors involved in determining the copyright status, which may or may not be important, depending on how quickly after Jaws came out the song was written and the exact circumstances. This all brings us to the earliest documented instance of a version of the Baby Shark song, which comes to us from the 1981 children's music book, Making Music Fun, a complete collection of games, puzzles, and activities for the elementary classroom. Noteworthy here is that the song is not called Baby Shark, but rather Jaws. However, it otherwise strongly resembles the Baby Shark song, Do Do Do's and all. It starts Jaws do 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 do, Jaws do 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 do, and I'm not gonna sing it. And it goes on. It includes a portion that mentions baby jaws and giant jaws, a lady swimming, etc. It also mentions one of the aspects of the song that is most fun is putting gestures to it, implying some form of the chomping movements and the like were likely there as well at this point. Now you might be thinking, well, of course they called it Jaws, it was a huge franchise at this time, so perhaps they were just co-opting a pre-existing song in the public domain and changing the name to Jaws. That is of course possible. But first, despite our sincerest efforts, we could come up with zero documented evidence of such a song predating Jaws. This included looking for all sorts of potential modifications to lyrics and the like. Fast forward to the 1980s, however, and the song pops up all over the place. Now, it's always possible that the popularity of the film made some ultra-obscure children's song more popular, and we'd love it if someone somewhere found earlier hard-documented evidence of the song, as it's always fun to track these sorts of things down definitively, especially on topics nobody else has seemingly done a deep dive on. But even if such a song did exist, there is a key factor of this version which is integral to the modern version that points to it being a creation after Jaws and is significant enough that it would likely still be eligible for copyright as a derivative work based on these changes that still exist in the Pinkfong version. We're guessing a large percentage of you have already spotted it, but to make it explicit, the evidence that this version of the song came after Jaws, and perhaps the entire song itself, given the lack of evidence to it before, can be found in the famous do-do-do-do part of the music. Change the tempo a bit to be a bit more ominous and slowed down from the way it's sung today, and you get arguably one of the most famous movie themes of all time, the music played as Jaws approaches its victims. As for where the aforementioned Making Music Fun 1981 music book got the song, they do not claim authorship, simply stating, "Here is a song that we learned from a second grader at the St. Thomas School in West Hempstead, New York, about Jaws." In the end, given the timing some version of the song first started appearing in documented history, anecdotal accounts from people singing it at kids' camps and the like not starting until around the 1980s, and the inclusion of a version of the Jaws theme, all evidence to date seems to indicate the song came after Jaws, probably written by some camp counselor or kids' music teacher, and spreading and being adapted from there. And speaking of improvised lyrics, all documented early instances of the song more or less follow the trend of having the family of sharks going along chasing and then eating someone or a group of people, with some version of the doo-doo sped-up Jaws theme in between each progression. This is in stark contrast to the Pinkfong version where the humans get away. So how did we get the slightly more tame version? It turns out the credit for that seems to go to children's entertainer Johnny Only, who even posted a music video of it on YouTube all the way back in September of 2011, 4 years before Pinkfong's first version and almost 5 years before their viral version. Unfortunately for Only, while his song, music, dance moves, etc. are all exceptionally similar to the Pinkfong Smart Study version, some say too similar, which we'll get into in the bonus facts in a bit, his music video didn't take off, even today having only just shy of 150,000 views. Pinkfong's, on the other hand, which is far better crafted to appeal to littles visually, has since made Smart Study tens of millions of dollars as noted. And unlike adult music fads like the Macarena and Gangnam Style and the like, as this one is kids related and there are always new kids to come along and enjoy it, it's not likely to stop making the company massive sums of money, really potentially forever if they keep leveraging it as entertainment mediums evolve and creating new versions that they can continue to copyright. So, next time you're sitting in your car going to that dead-end job you loathe, just remember there is a company out there who literally has made at minimum tens of millions of dollars already off a song they plucked from, allegedly, the public domain, modifying it only slightly from an existing version, claims the copyright on their version based on those tiny modifications, did a few minutes of recording, presumably a day or two of video editing, uploaded it on the interweb, and now will be cashing checks for it for the rest of their lives, as well as their kids' lives, and beyond. Of course, in truth, that's an oversimplification, as before releasing that video, they also did several years of work uploading almost 400 videos, improving their craft and building their platform in the process, all culminating in that video having a chance to go viral in the first place. Then, with the early going of views seemingly promising, it spurred them to focus a ton of marketing efforts and money into keeping it going, with their marketing team ultimately helping it along to becoming a global phenomenon and leveraging its popularity to make money in other mediums. But let's quit trying to ruin the no-effort overnight rags to riches narrative, because everyone prefers that narrative. And speaking of doing things to set yourself up to take advantage of opportunities that come up, learning new things like a new language with Babbel. Maybe you need to brush up on your language skills for work, or maybe you just want the opportunity to work abroad. Now, you might have had a crack at this already with some basic free apps from the App Store, but Babbel does way beyond the basics indeed. It is the #1 language learning app in the world, with 14 different languages currently available. So why is Babbel better than the rest? Well, importantly, they have a strong focus on confidence building, which is a huge part of learning a language. You can learn all the vocab and grammar in the world, but if you don't have a chance to speak it, you're never going to get anywhere. Babbel simulates conversations with native speakers and uses voice recognition technology. Their courses are all designed by experts rather than just constructed by an algorithm which doesn't consider things like your native language. It also considers how you like to learn with topics that you're interested in. They've got an app as well, so it's really easy to just jump in and practice whenever you've got a down moment, and those short few minutes of practice, they all eventually add up, and it's also super nicely designed and easy to use. So start learning a new language today with Babbel. Sign up for a 3-month subscription and get 3 months for free. There is a link below, and let's get into that bonus fact. As you might expect, given that Johnny Only was the first known person to create a version of the Baby Shark song that cuts out the whole eating people thing, and that Pinkfong's version is extremely similar to his, and that they are making Scrooge McDuck money off of it, as well as getting all the credit for the song to boot, this hasn't sat too well with Only. Says Only of the similarities: the shortened length, the key, the addition of instrumentation, and the type of instrumentation, the rhythm, the tempo, the sanitation of the lyrics for toddler-age audiences, the tempo change mid-song, the splash at the beginning, even some of the harmony styles, and things like adding a lower voice when they introduce Daddy Shark. All the ones before mine are camp versions with blood and gore, loss of limbs, and frequent death. The toddlers also like the Shark family, and the fact I made it shorter. Nevertheless, despite the similarities, he did not initially pursue any legal action against Smart Study, as he just assumed the song was in the public domain, and thus any version he made would be too, so they were just free to use it as far as he was concerned. It was only after the Liberty Career Party reached out to him to ask for permission to use his version of the song, which he granted as he thought he had no right to say no, that things came to a head. You see, Smart Study threatened to sue Liberty Career for infringing on their copyright, with the Liberty Party naturally responding that Only, not Smart Study, owned the copyright to the version they were using. Said Only of this: if Pinkfong's song is so close to mine that they can't even tell the difference, and Pinkfong tries to claim copyright infringement against their version when the political party is using my version, doesn't that mean that my version also has copyright protection? This got him into looking into the legal side more, as well as Smart Study's version compared to his. Given the similarities, you'll perhaps not be surprised to learn that whether they infringed on Only's copyright or not is currently being decided in court. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do smash that thumbs up button below. Check out our fantastic sponsor Babbel, link to them below as well, and thank you for watching.